sorry, there's a cat in this room because he was crying at the door. So if he appears, he's a
Is
brat.
there a cat? Oh, at your bedroom door. I see.
Let him in.
Let him in.
He's in
Release the
here. He's
cat.
scratching a chair.
And you've got
But
baby Yoda in the background as well.
yeah, I have Baby Yoda, but he's dressed like Edward Teller from Oppenheimer. It's like a whole weird little
Oh,
section that I got
nice.
going over there.
Right.
Uh, but to start, what I love about this movie is for the first time in recent months, it's two stars being in a 90s movie and they were actually alive in the 90s. I've had to do a
Hmm.
lot of interviews talking to people who are like weren't alive, and I was like, I feel ancient. I don't like this. But
To be fair,
how
I was barely alive in the 90s, as Russell keeps pointing
Don't
out.
ruin it.
Don't ruin the moment.
listen, I'm only 4 years older than you, but I do remember the 90s. But when you are in something that is, such a specific time period piece, what for all of you was like the key to making sure that the 90s felt like I was watching something that was filmed in the 90s?
Carmen.
Wait, sorry. Can you repeat that question? I thought you were directing that towards them.
It was just, I'm directing it towards all of you. I want to know what it was, like, what was the key to making this movie feel as 90s as
Oh.
it does?
I mean, wardrobe was key. Wardrobe was one of the first conversations I had when I set out to make the movie with Kate and O'Keefe, our costume designer. But also I think it was I use Hi8 in the film, which is like it's a camcorder that I used when I was a kid. And I think that that just like helped set the 90s vibe very easily. A lot of times I would just be recording out of our car window, like on my way to set, to get like B-roll of Syracuse because we didn't have a lot of time to shoot it. But I think like using that high footage really helped place people in the 90s. Clothes, a lot of the music that we play in the mall. I think even setting it in a mall is
Oh
very
Mhm.
yeah.
like 90s culture vibes.
That mall is very 90s.
Yeah.
So you'd go and hang out with
Okay.
all your friends in the mall. That's what we did as kids. You go shopping.
Yeah.
We'd go shopping to buy outfits to go shopping in.
Yeah.
That would be like
That
what
would
we
be what you
did.
do.
Mhm.
Shopception.
Yeah.
Shop what?
Shopception.
Shopception
Inception.
or Inception.
Shop. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can quote him on that.
Yeah, stop, shop, shop. I can't even
Shop.
say it. But how was it for you guys as actors? Like, was the costume kind of what got you in that, or like what got you into like the feel of the 90s? Because it is truly one of those movies where I was just like, cool, yeah, I'm back in the 90s, no notes. I don't even really need to think that far into it. It feels like I'm watching a 90s movie.
I don't know if you can feel a period. You just have to play the honesty of what the material
Mm.
is. If you're in a period drama and you're like, I'm playing, you know, if you're doing like a Dickensian,
Mm.
then you're going to go back. Everyone sort of goes into these characters, don't they? Hello,
Yeah.
yes, sir. This way, please. Everyone sort of does.
Sure.
You know, and then you're like, okay, we're in Victorian Britain, and you're like Artful Dodger. But you can't. I don't know how you can play because we're in 2025 now, and I'm not. I'm in 2025 mode. Here I go. You can't. Can you?
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me like that? It's still like,
Because that was a masterclass.
yeah,
You just like became
yeah. It's not Dickensian.
yeah.
So
What
true.
he said, really. I mean, I did
Give us your
definitely.
Need some work.
Yeah, I want notes.
Oh,
No, it's it like we had pages. I had a pager. I didn't live at a
oh
time.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
when pages were used, so that was kind of
Mhm.
sitting in the mall scene and seeing the pager from my
Mm.
mum, and then having to go and use a payphone to call her.
Or payphones.
Or payphones,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like payphones when I was growing up were just kind of being phased out and just being used for like teenagers to go and smoke cigarettes in and stuff.
Or we.
Or we, and they were smaller we, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but oh, really,
Does that answer your
That
yeah.
that
question?
is a
You're putting on the
perfect
costume.
answer.
The
It's
costume's so well designed. Like Caden O'Keefe did an amazing
Yeah.
job.
yeah.
And I got into that costume and like it's so funny because 90s clothes are coming back around again. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
it just feels like how I dress on a day-to-day basis with
Yeah,
like
it's
my
cyclical.
baggy Carhartt jeans and stuff.
Hmm.
But it does, you can't help, even though you can't play it, you can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truly saw my friend in a pair of long jorts the other day, and I was like, we're not doing this again. I don't care what you tell me is in fashion,
Uh,
I'm not doing it.
kind of love it.
I love it.
Uh,
But Carmen, I want to ask you because I love the use of time in this movie because the way it works is just like you're watching some man be tormented by his own thoughts throughout an entire movie, and it jumps back and forth in all of these different times And I kind of love that the way we know when we're back in the modern, but the like his most recent timeline is when he is kind of at his lowest. For you as a creative, what was it like getting to play with that in the writing and directing and figuring out exactly where the movie is at any given point?
It was really freeing as a writer because this was my first script. It was freeing as a writer to not have to worry about telling the story chronologically. I could just tell it emotionally. And I had like that breakthrough. I know that you mentioned Oppenheimer at the beginning of this interview. Like when I thought about Memento, Christopher Nolan's
Mm.
Memento, that was really helpful for me as a writer, to just think about like how I can express my own interpretation of time. And for me, as someone who came out in their early 20s and like I was writing, thinking about that period in my life, I really saw that experience as really fragmented. I didn't see it as a linear experience because it was trauma. And oftentimes with trauma, you don't think about it in a linear way. And I wanted the narrative to reflect that. And I think I watched Oppenheimer like right before I went to shoot it. And I love how Christopher Nolan deals with time. And I think, especially in film, like film is a very specific art form where you can explore time in that way. And I think that's like what something that makes film so special. I think it would really be hard to put this on stage. I don't think it's impossible, but I just think it's a very film specific piece.
We did talk about Plainclothes the musical quite a bit.
Plainclothes the musical, we would sing on set. I do think that one day I'd want to revisit the characters in play form, though, but not in a musical. Tom and I will make a musical one day.
Oh,
But
I'm not in that, no.
maybe I'm writing something else
Maybe.
for you. I know I'm writing something. No, you'll always.
I can sing.
I can sing.
Go ahead.
Anyway,
Help.
Well, it was thank you for the tee up because I straight up was gonna ask about theater because like I was like, well, Russell, you've done a lot of theater in your career, and it is always interesting to me as a former theater kid to ask actors like how does their theater backgrounds help them when they're making something that does get to play with a bunch of different levels and tones. And so for you guys, what was it like getting to pull from things you've done in the past while also making these characters feel as fresh as possible in a movie like this?
Well, I think you always, as an actor, the more work you do, you learn every time you do a job. Everyone always says, I learned so much, but you genuinely do. And especially on this film, I learned so much. And you take these little nuggets of magic where you discover onto the next thing. I think when you do a play, you have the generosity of a rehearsal process, which is always wonderful to really dig in more to the character and your relationships. And I think as theatre actors, there is this embedded research that comes in, whether you are physically going, where does this guy come from? Or you just in your thoughts, you place them geographically and timely in the world. And I think, yeah, there's lots of characters that I've played. Joe Pitt, especially in Angels in America, was one that I definitely felt was part of the feeding system of Andrew. And he was in there definitely like swimming around, helping me to navigate my way to this character. But I think we just, you pull on your own life, you cherry pick your own biography, and then as a performer, you're learning on the job, right?
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. One time I wanted to ask, because you get to have this, there's like one shot that as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's beautiful, but also probably burned your retinas because he has a moment where he's like trying to think of something and he looks directly up into a light and you're just like silhouetted by this light. What is the process for you as an actor when you know like, yes, in theory, I'm having a very emotional moment, but I'm also looking directly up into a light and still having to have that like emotionality to something for an audience?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, the light wasn't too bright that it was impossible to do. So on a physical level, it was fine. It was actually that came from it was in the script. It's written in the script that Lucas does this counting this sequence to calm his anxiety and his stress. But yeah, just when he feels himself getting an anxiety attack, he does this thing, and that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that came from something you used to do, right?
Yeah, when I was like as a kid, I did that. I don't know what it really meant when I was a kid, but I remember it was my way of kind of controlling my sexuality in a lot of ways.
Did it stop when you come out?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But I feel like there's like something in my brain, like, because it would only happen when I would like leave a room when I was a kid. It was like something I had to do in order to like properly leave a room, because if I did this sequence in my mind, I was like, that means I'm not gay. It was just something I did. It was like, if I approach this stoplight and it turns green, that means I'm not gay.
Oh,
Like your
God.
mind
We're
would,
all so desperate at that age to
yeah.
just for it to have a different outcome.
Mm.
And the moment you go, you give yourself into your sexuality, if you are that way inclined, and you go, this is who I am, and this is what nature's intended. Whoa, it's a relief.
I know,
And
and
you
it go,
haven't got to do all that shit in your head. It's
Mhm.
so much work. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Keeping it all up.
Yeah. And it does come back every, like when I have certain moments of anxiety, I feel like those similar things come up, but it's now I can identify it and like kind of talk with it, and it doesn't like consume me as it once did. And I feel like that's part, and also like why like writing the script, I think helped me process those feelings as
Yeah,
well.
nice.
Yeah.
Carmen was really forthcoming with all of this from the moment we met. I mean, it was all on the page in the script, but until I met Carmen in person, I didn't realize. I knew it was personal, but I didn't know how much of himself he poured into it. And then the minute we started talking, and he was so forthcoming and like transparent about fears and pain
Yeah.
and hopes and dreams and everything he'd gone through as a child and a teenager and into his adulthood. And it really inspired me to bring as much of it into Lucas that I could, but also just to do justice to Carmen. Like my biggest like North Star when I was playing Lucas was just to do Carmen proud, honestly. And there were probably a few times I was like, is it okay? Am I making you proud?
It was always.
Because that was my main thing, just seeing how much a director can bring themselves to it and really vulnerable moments in their life and put it all on the page and the screen. All you can do as an actor is to try and in that moment be as vulnerable as you can be to honor that.
That's because you're a generous actor
Mhm.
and you're empathetic. Some actors aren't that way inclined.
Yeah.
But I feel like
You're
you.
in the wrong job.
Oh yeah, you know them.
Oh yeah.
But you know, we know there's actors, but I think you cast actors that are empathetic as human beings outside of this job and care about people and are enthusiastic to tell stories.
Yeah.
And you put those in the room, and we talk about the whole cast. I'm not just talking about us not blowing smoke up our own arse
No,
here, but
yeah.
talk about the whole cast across the board. If you put those people together, then you're going to there's a layer of things you haven't even got to think about. It's just there. You just put a camera on, and you've already got empathy
Yeah.
and connection, and that's down to your casting, I think. And then you've got all the extra bits on top, and that's what people are finding with this film. I think they're feeling love and empathy and kindness
Because it was there.
because it was
there.
there. It's
Yeah.
just there.
I
And you
remember
can't fake that.
my first meeting with Tom was supposed to be like an hour. I think I went to Calgary to hang out, and we were both like, we started talking, and we were just like, all right, we're gonna get really personal real quick. Like nothing leaves this table. We talked for like 5 hours, and that's like, I don't know. And I felt like I mean, starting with that connection with Tom, it just kind of like blossomed with into my relationship with the other cast members too. It's just like the love I feel like that's on screen really existed on set, and it was a very safe environment for us all to express ourselves. Yeah.
Well, I love this movie. I loved that scene. It truly was like one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna think about this. Anytime someone brings it up, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that one shot is just gorgeous. And so thank you for talking with me today. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for everyone to get to see Plainclothes.